pending on how the internet goes.
Wow, that's
Any
incredible and very exciting. So when you're going to do this live demo, is this going to be something that like it'll be at your booth in person kind of thing, or
Yeah,
how are we going to experience this?
yeah. So I do believe if we connect everything correctly with the Wi-Fi, and it's all really Wi-Fi pending, it will be on the booth, and you yourself can be controlling this metaverse we talked about, and be experimenting. You will see some of the collectibles be available in there. There'd be a lot of cool stuff to show our fans.
That's incredible. Wow. And I mean, this is something that everybody's been, wanting for a long time. And, obviously speculating, as you can see, like from the stuff that I create, it's all speculation and we've been having all these spaces. So it's going to be great to see a first glimpse. So we really appreciate you like dropping it here first and telling us that we can get a chance to see this.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, and we'll roll it out as we see how it goes. The initial um, space will be very limited, and I think it will be I believe the AMA update will cover what we're showing off. Um, but ultimately, we really believe the Web 3.0 space is going to explode in digital content and ownership and what people do with it. Like you mentioned, Cook from Apple,
Mm-hmm.
the world will be AR, VR, and in years to come. And obviously, VR still have its side challenges. With we talked about people getting a bit dizzy, so on, or it's just become too realistic when they put on a headset for you know more than 20-30 minutes. Yeah, but with Veve, we really, it's all about experiment, getting users to be creative, and some of the stuff that you put together, the idea is to enhance the experience so you can put better content together for to share with people.
Sure, absolutely. So, speaking from, I know you can't reveal much, and totally understandable. But like, what are you like? Can you speculate on something that you're excited for AR and VR to go to? Like, where would you like? What would you like to see happen?
Yeah, I mean, we use a lot of AR. We sing magically. We sing Oculus. We sing life physical experiment. These companies have sent us demo one to use as well. We have researched a lot. I really believe that the mixed reality will be the AR will be the number one breaking point. When you put on the glasses, could be Ray-Ban. I mean, Facebook did something with Ray-Ban that looks quite good. You put it on, and you see your digital assets around. For us, we're going to take the step a bit slower. I mean, we have built the engine behind it, and
Oh,
we
this is
have,
an original engine.
yeah. We're not going to be
Okay.
using. Well, I don't think there's engine that we could just purchase off the shelf and build it apart from Sandbox, and I think the
Right.
Decentraland. These guys, they have their own engines, so similar with what we're doing. I what and Dan will be covering a lot more in the AMA, but it will be divine spaces first, and where I think it will happen eventually will be, um, which is not going to happen in short term, because it will be very hard to imagine that if you live in London, I'm in New Zealand, someone in LA, we put on the glasses and straight away we bump into each other. That will take a lot longer than, the initial maybe 6, 10, 6 to 10 months when it's launched. The ideally is you put on the glasses, you're able to, in the metaverse, you meet someone, and share that experience. And maybe with concerts, maybe with event meets up, exhibitions, art shows, art fair, things that will really drag people into it. I think that's where it's going to open up that space first. And if people like it, once they experience it and they get a good taste of it, they will start socializing on it. But I think will be a little while yet.
Yeah. So, do you see this being more, because you mentioned some stuff that feels like it would be more on the virtual reality side of things more than the augmented reality side of things? Is that something you feel like the company's steering more towards?
Yeah, ultimately, it will be both for what we're building. Obviously, mobile devices is really the AR experience, and we definitely will be compatible with VR. And I believe that if it's a live demo, it will be a VR and Decon Anaheim.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So, um, you know, our conversations tonight have been around the metaverse and how expansive it can be and the infinite space and all of that. And so, like, it can get a little like overwhelming for some people.
Mm.
How do you feel like you're going to be able to break this down into something that's very digestible for massive audiences?
Yeah, and we totally agree with what you just say. And that so I think I mentioned, and coming up maybe in the October, running up to the decon, we will start to work out what we want to reveal. Because the problem is, if you show people too much, they get too deep into it. So something
Right.
for Phoebe, for me anyway, which I see very important, um, is to for the social connection. It's very key part. Out,
Yes.
I really, apart from what other larger companies try to do to bring people into the rabbit hole, I call it the metaverse, we really want to engage and the users to be using that tool become more uh, adapted into the society, become part of it, rather than you're always isolated at home. Like this space here, you got people all around the world talking about a similar interest, and these are the things that we really believe that the winner in the mass market of metaverse will win, is that they collectors look, feel like um, they want to be at the space because they want to share that similar interest, rather than
Right.
try to pull people in to go, well, you can only be part of this if you join the metaverse type of thing. If that makes sense. We don't really just want to drag people in deeper and deeper, because I really believe that the society is already very isolated in many different areas. Pe- you know, communications are all changing. The way people share their experience already have changed dramatically through COVID. We want to bring people
Right.
closer, and that's our target. And I think that mandate might not work with most other company out there. They see it as that everyone should be communicating through one source and one avenue. Where, and we also think what you have done when you create a picture and a little video without even anything in it, and that image and that picture speaks and communicate with one another, that it's a very powerful tool. So that is something that we will embrace, that type of experience as well.
Absolutely. I mean, make a lot of people happy right now. I'm going to say that first.
Yeah, yeah,
So, yeah, this is all really incredible. So, uh, for me, when we're talking about VV collectibles and the metaverse and VVverse specifically, um, is is part of this demo. Does this feel like something where we will be able to incorporate the existing collectibles that we have into the VVverse initially, or is this something that will slowly build over time? What are your thoughts?
yeah. So that's a very good question, and I probably would like Dan to answer that because
Yeah,
he is heading that whole creation. And just so our audience understand is that most of the asset you see on Veve is built the same way. So it's not like one collectible can be in there, the other one couldn't be. It's all pending based on the IP owner's rights and licensing around it, surrounding the commercial deal of it. Uh, so number one is if one of the VVS it can be bought into it, all the other ones should be. In from the technology front, it just whether we can get approval from everyone, not their heads. Um, and,
sure.
and and you guys will probably know most companies are looking to diverse their strategy into that area anyway. I mean, it's been a very big marketing buzzword, the metaverse. So everyone's tried to solve that. Um, for us, it's more about the user experience. We're not here to solve any studios issues. We're here to solve what our customer want and the experience, how we, want to see these. And I talked about a few times in interview that the NFT is really just a byproduct of something else that's greater. And a couple of days ago, I read um, article about Mastercard. Now there's a
Hmm.
partnership with a NFT company that will help you able to onboard your NFT as your Mastercard ID or something, and
Yeah.
or able to print that image on it. If you can prove that you have that ownership, think you know the, in 4 years ago, you Mastercard would not even be affiliating anything into the crypto space. So you could see the kind of the mass market adoption that's coming around the corner.
Right. Right. And you're right. But it seems like there's a lot of avenues that people are minting or are putting their NFTs into, and so on and so forth. When it comes to the VeveVerse, it's going to be its own, as you said, its own engine, its own entity. On a technical side of things, I know that a lot of the models are built in Unity. Are you using any part of the Unity engine at all to incorporate into the VeveVerse, or is this like from the ground up
No,
built as a new thing?
oh yeah, we're using quite existing. I mean, it will be number one when the time's right. We will, ideally, what we think is all other NFT projects could be in this world. That's number one. It's all about the interoperable. Um, and number two is it won't be just Unity because it won't be just one singular engine. We'll, what we have will be rolling out will be multi connected, and we can share more of that when the time comes. Obviously, it's being kept pretty much dark in the secret, and there's only about a handful of people in the company even know what's happening in that. Not even a handful. There could be only about four person in
Sure,
the company. Yeah.
sure.
And I don't even know
So,
all of them, by the way. I have to listen to Dan's AMA to get update, and then I have to dial in and ask him more because he's definitely leading that side of things. So yeah, but next few days there'll be a little bit covered it, and I think October AMA will be much broader. If we will go live to show something ready in November.
that is awesome. That is fantastic. I understand the like secrecy and all of that stuff, but like I have to say, do you realize where you are in this, right? Like you realize like how far you've come. You've like been able to acknowledge how far you've come because like I know that there are people that are kind of haters in this space and they're like, oh, but the value's gone down, oh, but we've been promised all these, and then like all these technical things, but like you guys have continued to meet the things that you said you're doing. And like I hope that you can acknowledge to yourself that like you are doing a good job and that you don't let any of that FUD kind
Um,
of take you down.
yeah, to be honest, I don't read too much of the social side of thing. Both myself and Dan, we work crazy hours.
Yeah.
He will say we work 25 hours a day. At least for me, I do at least, I do burn out for multiple days. Just in front trying to get ahead. Um, and I think we talked quite a few times in other podcasts or things. We try to think a number of steps ahead of things, and we dream quite big. Um, and I was actually just watching the interview um, from the decon trip we did in London, and I think at the end
Yeah.
of it, my our legal counsel sent me one of our legal counsel sent me to go, I think your audience wants to know from 26 minutes something seconds. And I go, well, what's that? And it's about the, I initially thought the guy asked me if a Disney ring you up want to buy an NFT. I'm going, well, they can. But he was referring to the exit. I mean, we just have so much more we believe in and we want to put in. They're just endless. Myself and Dan, we brainstorm a lot and we try to execute them. And obviously, the biggest challenge is time and resource. If we had more hours in the day, things will be going, a lot faster. But the challenge sometimes is external factors. It's not just the staff that we have. A lot of these things does require IP owners to play part in their legals and so on. It's definitely not easy as people think. And going back to your comment, do we feel that we feel that we're ahead? No, we don't really think we're ahead. I mean, you got company like Facebook, burning through $6 billion, I don't know, a quarter or every half a year, expanding into that area. I mean, I wish I could have 1/10 or even 100 of that budget resource to build what we do. I think is because we just work in such an agile stage where we can, when we make a mistake, will be able to, erase it and start again and do it really fast. And maybe larger organization, they have more policy and they have more decision makers, things like that, and it slows it down. So I don't really think we are faster in any way in resource and in terms of money, or we have better brains or anything. All the people work in the Web3 space are extremely talented and smart. I mean, most of them have their own way of thinking what a Web3 will look like. And obviously, myself and Dan, we are nowhere near to even able to compete in the intelligence of, we are just more of a dreamer and think of what we could do, the boundaries. I mean, thinking back when we built Veve, I didn't even know maybe a quarter of the technology that we have implemented in is even available. AR was a bit lagging all the time. You can't position it well. There's other area like inclusion from Google. The iPhone have only recently been launched, and just a lot of stuff where our fans didn't actually understand that these are very, very new technology and we're just in the middle of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, uh, obviously, we understand that you're working very hard and you work tirelessly, and I very much respect the fact that you're not involved in the social space and hearing that because really it's keeping you guys focused, and we can see it. We can see what you guys are doing.
I watch your video.
Yeah,
Pretty much, that's all I do. When I feel a little bit frustrated, I do look at the funny things in the videos on it, and actually it makes my day. Or even in like 3 in the morning, it just brings smile to my face and go, well, this is why I'm working so hard, is to bring more smiles to people's face. And you got a product. You have a team that building a product for fans because we're real collectors. Um, and don't get me wrong, I speak to most of our competitors. Like even this morning, one of our major Web3 competitor, dials me up on a Zoom call with their team, and everyone's going through the same thing. Every project had its FUD, and every NFT at the moment has value. Some of the value has dropped quite significant. Some of them have dropped more than the other, and everyone's facing the same problem. And the truth is, when the tide goes out, you're going to see a lot of these projects. They're going to reconcile. They might merge. For us, and I read a lot and I watch a lot of YouTube when I'm working. I'm playing at the background. There's a lot of larger companies now emerging, all these other players, whether it's exchanges or in the digital space, etc. We constantly are looking out for talent acquisition and other projects as well. But for us, uh, everything we go back to is all about collectors. How do we think this part of business that if we do merge will be connecting collectors to enhance the experience for our collectors out there as well.
Absolutely. Well, I don't want to dive too much into the VeveVerse because I know it's a surprise and I'm really excited for you to demo it. So I'm not going to pick your brain and actually accidentally have you slip up. But
yeah,
I do.
I couldn't tell you more. I mean, seriously, Dan is the master behind this. So, if anything, he's connected together. Yeah, and as I mentioned, and I think we have talked about even in Decon London, is that it will be a very basic beta 101 to show people what it could potentially be like.
Sure. I have a personal question because I'm curious in your role in Veve as far as like when you're going after IPs or you're going after things. Is this something that like you are personally making relationships with the IP owners, or do you have somebody within the company that is going and meeting with these people? How does that work for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, obviously, 217, 218 was extremely difficult. I mean, most IP owners
Sure.
don't even want to talk to us.
Right.
Well, if they do, they don't quite understand why would anyone want to buy or be owning a digital asset. But now these days, they're more open to take meetings. Um, and but there's something quite important. When we were growing quite rapidly fast last year, and don't get me wrong, we are still growing pretty fast compared to what the standard industry is that um, we were onboarding more and more IP than we could actually funnel out. The truth is, because you're under resourced. Now we are more organized, well organized. We have more resource now. We have more staff, and we're just being a bit more cautious how we deal with IPs. We don't just sign a new one for the heck of signing that, so other people don't have. In fact, we have turned many down because we just don't see how it will fit in our collector space. So everything now we're going back is we're thinking, well, a collector will want to have that IP, and if it's relevant to our audience, and how we can and have a multi-year deal and roll out OQA, a program. And the more and more products that we bring out now, our job next is to open up a new category. And I think this weekend we're dropping the Ultraman, the movie characters from the 1960s.
Yes.
And that deal was done in 2018 for that. And it's taken that long for us to produce it, because it's just so hard to work with IP owners, especially sometime in the Asian culture in Japan, it's very, very difficult to get signed off. They want everything to look perfect. I mean, if you've been to Japan, you see all the toy collectible, the packaging's immaculate, the things that just folds out. That they come up with some of the coolest idea, and sometimes those idea, you just go, well, why would you want to do that? But they are very, very hard to work with, and for us, talking about the IP is now we want to open new categories, and I think I talked about in our last AMA was anime. We really think anime could be quite big um, for us. Yeah,
Don't you spoil me now.
yeah, yeah.
Anime is my jam.
Yeah, so we keep talking about the pillars that we want to move into. It's endless, right? In the NFT and what's collectible. I mean, listening to you guys, people collect all sorts of things. I simply collect everything. If I buy it, I generally keep it forever. I don't really even sell it. Sometimes I do trade my doubles, but I try to still keep one of everything.
Right. Yeah. I think a question on all of our minds is where are you taking Doc's Profit to dinner?
um, yeah, yeah. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to disclose that, but
no, that's totally fine.
I wouldn't.
And yeah, I don't even know I know he's bringing the additional 3 guests
Great.
with him. So he's utilizing the whole thing. And it was really good because somehow, well, as you know, the winner got to meet Ron if it was in New York, so that's going to happen.
Great.
And we had it's going to be in the AMA coming out, and he managed to get a bonus utility because I convinced Dan to join the dinner, so Dan's coming over. Yeah, Dan. If you guys see me at shows in Anaheim and all that, or even in Decon, I'm like a common. Dan is more like a secret rare. He just pops out whenever he wants, but I'm always there. So I'm literally a common when it comes to a collectible, and he is very rare, even for me sometimes to track him down. Yeah, I mean I think I had to. What did I do? The day before we left London, I had to knock on his room, and he goes, "Oh yeah, how can I help?" And I go, "Hey Dan, do you think I could have one of your gold and silver logo business card?" And then he goes, I'm not too sure if you can have one. So I managed to make up a story to manage to score one myself because I'm thinking I don't even have one myself. Yeah.
Wait, you're telling me you don't even have a VV gold and silver logo in your collection?
No, I don't. So I got one off it.
Wow.
Yeah, and there will be in the latest AMA coming out. We'll talk quite a bit about the gold and silver logo as well. So I don't want to spoil any secrets in that. So please do tune in.
Sure.
It will give you some update what's happening, and some of the things around that.
David,
That's
I've got a genius move for you, David, which is design a new logo and then make the first sign for it for yourself, commission that, put the new logo out there, and then you're sitting on the first appearance.
Yeah.
And then the next step is a bunch of question marks, and then after that is the profit step. There you go. Free advice. I don't even work for you anymore.
Yeah.
Still making you money. Hell yeah.
The cool thing about the gold and silver logo is actually free. I mean, we don't even sell them. We give them out to fans. We just thought it would be cool, just so some people can decorate their room. And we actually didn't know it was going to be such a big deal. And because it's such a big deal, we're making a big deal of it now. So do listen to the AMA coming out.
Well, thank you, and I guess I feel really special to have gotten one from you. I had no idea you didn't have one. Now I feel bad.
Yeah, yeah. I do have to ask Dan for one of his one. So it's not kind of rigged because most people think, well, if Veve, you just get allocated whatever you want. We don't actually get that privilege like most people
Yeah,
think.
I
Yeah.
got you.
Has
Well,
Dan shared his diamond and sapphire logo yet?
No, no, no. Yeah. Um, yeah. Um, and, and and the ultimate truth is that we did a couple screwed up in the decon London. You know, some of the addition meant was a lot lower than we thought. And we just go, well, why would we want to do that? It's yeah, well, so we and because few things was rushed and I oversighted. I do believe like there was a couple drops out there that has an extreme low number mint, which is something that extreme low is something that we're trying to move away from. But you know, we are human. We do make mistakes on it.
I have a question for you since you're speaking about this specifically, and I know that it's been talked about in spaces. And again, David, I really appreciate you taking the time to jump in here. But um, when it comes to pricing for collectibles, I know this is something that people have brought up and questioned. Is this something that is pricing that is set by Veve, or is this something that is set by the IP owner?
Yeah, we play a big part on price setting. And I do need to admit, I do price them, and I do make mistakes. And in general, how I like to price things is that I also look at what we used to sell that digital collectible, that NFT once was. So I look at the vehicles and I go, well, what other vehicle have we got? Like, you know, the USS Enterprise is one of them. Back to the Future DeLorean is one of them. And what do we sell that product previously? Because what we don't want is undermine what's been out in our earlier series. So we try to align that. And number two is we try to align with physical products. So if you see something in the retail shop, we try to price it below that because obviously a physical product have all that manufacturing shipping costs. Not saying that digital collectible doesn't go through all that. The cost of designing is equivalent as high as making the mold of a toy, sometime more, pending how complex it is. So we try to
Sure.
balance that right. And then what we have to do is we have to try to recoup at least the cost of doing the business. And then there's the royalty split and ensuring that every IP owners, every stage, including talent artists, you know, this artist one-on-one program that we have introduced in, that everyone's getting a good fair share of it. And very unfortunate that when we first launched Veve, we are on the Apple and Google platform, and this is something everyone
Mm-hmm.
knows that a big of you know that we call it sometimes the Apple and Google tax. A third of that or 30% goes towards that. So that significantly increased the actual retail of the product because of that. Well, one of the reason, and the other thing is we believe that if you were selling, well, I believe anyway, if you were selling things for nothing, people don't really cherish them. It's like almost like if you give them a free thing and you go, I tell you, this is going to be extremely collectible in 5 year time. People don't really
Right.
take it as serious. Um, so we try to put some sort of value on it because when you buy it with your own money, you care a lot more. I mean, you see people who build these fortress and Roblox, they are so passionate in it, right? Even Fortnite, it's because they putting their money in it, and sometimes that money is not really physical money; it's time that they invest in the game. So it's like the work that you put together, those videos, you'll never delete them and take them out of circulation because every now and then you want to go back and go, man, I did this, I made this, and that's the sense of you know owning that. So we try to have that ownership in collectible with some sort of value that's fair for the quality of it. I mean, and I do make a lot of mistakes. And overall, the macroeconomic, and in the past few weeks, we have seen massive interest rate rise in 6 months now. The
Yeah.
value of the British pound, for example. So now we know that our UK audience are really getting hurt because the dollar just significantly devalues. So when you price something in US dollars, we now have to take that into account. That is no longer in par with what it was 4 or 5 months ago, or even 4 or 5 weeks ago. So we are now working towards, thinking, do we reprice everything a little bit more sensible uh, for what's coming up? Yeah, so all these things does play part into it, and obviously the most important is the rarity. The 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 rarity of the product plays parts on the pricing.
So that's an incredible answer, and thank you so much. And I appreciate the fact that a company like yours in your position owns the fact when you're like, oh no, we made a mistake in how we price this, and we need to make an adjustment for our collectors.
Yeah.
How do you feel when a NFT that you, or a collectible that you have released on the drop, doesn't sell out? Like what does that say to you on a research standpoint, or like moving forward?
Yeah. So a couple things. Number one is, if items don't, we never actually built the app to have things completely sold out. And just let me go back. I did go through the app this morning. I think we have about 10 series of drops out of maybe 500 or more drops we have done. I don't know how many. That hasn't completely sold out. So our success rate is still very, very high compared to our peers in the industry. That's one. Number two, just going back, we never envisioned that we want to completely sell out everything. Some products are being made, so new users coming in, they will have an opportunity to purchase it. Now, and this will be covered a lot more in this upcoming AMA, and Dan will be talking about what do we do with the excess stock if it doesn't sell and it sits here for a while. So do listen to that, because that's pretty much going to be happening very soon. Now, we think that sometime we maybe oversupply, maybe overproduce, or maybe and we do read comments, right? We do read the Star Wars drop, for example, that came out. Maybe we made the wrong choice on selection. It's part of our fault, and how we mixed it with one ship versus the other. So there's a lot of things we'll be taking away and learn it, and share that with our IP owners. And yeah, I mean, we're still very new in this space, and we try to have very low pricing tier. You guys seen it. The comic is that pricing tier. Then you have the mighty at that pricing tier. Then you have the premium of the 3D collectible figures, and then you have the top tier, where is all these vehicle. And I think it's just with the softness of market. It's number one, it's about spending power. If the spending power is not there, and we're still producing these quantity, you're just naturally not going to sell out. So we'll go away, look at either pricing it so everyone can afford them, or number two is reduce the quantity significantly to nothing. But once again, with the TIE fighter, every Darth Vader should have a TIE fighter with it. So I kind of need to mint enough. Otherwise, I get haters going, well, that is stupid. You minted nothing. So how do we put this together? And we are looking at the long-term market. We never look at what's going to happen in the next 4 or 5 months. Myself and Dan, we had these daily meeting, and without what we're rolling out next year, you might see a huge significant increase of users, and it's all about the users coming in. And if we're bringing in 500,000 extra new users, the amount of TIE Fighter that we have minted is nothing. It's completely nothing. And we experienced this with the first Back to the Future DeLorean time machine, right?
Yeah.
That was one of our highest mint, and it sold out within I don't know, day or two. And that was
Yeah.
because you got a huge demand. So our job as a company next is really, hey, let's get more users on board. And we have our challenges. We are learning through the KYC process as well. And once again, Dan will be touching base on this in the AMA, what we are doing, what we're implementing. So do listen to that one as well.
Awesome. Well, David, this has been super informative. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know you're busy, but honestly, thanks for hanging out with us, man. We've just been having a good time shooting it and talking about collectibles, and it's been awesome. Just, you really have created a community. You harped on this. You said a big part of this is the community, and it's in a lot of these people. I've heard so many testimonies from like Decon London and Decon Anaheim and all these people who have said, like, I have met people who are like life friends now, or I've connected with people on a whole new level. And it's like, could you even like have seen that coming?
I in our pitch deck, when we tried to raise money years ago, when we in our pitch deck, we did talk about it's going to connect the fandom, the community, and it's going to have that viral effect. And I think most of them look at that page and just laugh at us, and they go, "Well, have you not heard of Facebook or things?" And a big thing why we did what we did was that I actually personally go to all these Comic Con, even if Veve didn't exist, and we were not showing in New York Comic Con, I would have tried to attend. And I've done that before numerous times in San Diego Comic Con, because you kind of, it's a melting pot. You're bringing the people who likes that fandom all together, and throughout the weekend you meet characters, people dress up. 501. We have that down here in New Zealand as well. And I own a retail chain store, and I do exhibit in the local comic pop culture expo called Armageddon. And the 501 will have a stand as well. And you can go up. Once again, they're a great course. They have a bucket. They try to collect money for charity that they want to support. And once again, it's really about having that whole entire weekend, that fandom can be part of that and forget what they do. Some of them are doctors, lawyers. What we really believe, and from the 25 years I've been in the retail gaming business, I knew every single customer that came to my store when I worked in the store. I know their first name. I know the game system they play, whether they play Warhammer tabletop, they play Magic the Gathering, or they play the Dungeons and Dragons, or they put together a Gundam model. I knew that, that's their secret. That's their second secret. When they come to my shop, they're buying things to take it home, to put it together, and they're collecting that. Some of them are still customers. I quite often get people. I no longer work at the store. The store manager tell me, who say hello, from 15, 20 years ago as a customer. Now they've grown up, and they either a profession and doctor, or they have a legal practice now, and they're still collecting these things. So I really think if you can connect these and really understand why they want to collect and why they want to be part of that fandom, and if we can scale it globally through digital format, like what we're doing in Veve, there's a great opportunity. We always thought the network effect it's going to go out, because when you start taking a photo with a Darth Vader and put it on your social, and people are going to go, "Oh my God, where did you get that? How did he do that?" It's going to be a talking topic, and we really believe what you're doing when you have a picture, when you have an image or video that doesn't even say anything, but it become a talk of a topic, that it's a very powerful tool, and that's bringing people like in the space today, listening about collectibles, is that you're talking about things that you're passionate, and you never thought VV Magic will be so into Disney, and you will be so much into video editing. Now you're bringing groups of people all around the world into a space, and they all laugh and enjoy something, and that was part of what our pitch deck was, in a certain area, is that if we can achieve that, you know, there's apps out there like Facebook that's building family community together. There's the Instagram, you know, the influencers are showing the things that they love or what they're doing, where they're eating. There's the Twitter space, and there's a LinkedIn for all the business profession, but there was missing that fandom. You know, there's no one app where fans can go all meet together and collectively and do something cool. And that was one of the major reasons. Yeah, and you know, I think once we start connecting other pillars in the business, like the anime, the music, the sports, once we have all that, because we believe, yeah, we believe, we really do believe that people who love Star Wars, they could also love sports out there. So we really need to try to connect these up, so users can continue to come back. And yeah, it's been a pleasure, you know, having all of you guys on board, and believing in our project. And this project, in a way, is your project as well, because you guys are building the community with us together. And you know, we never thought it was going to be this fast, to be honest. We always knew in the next 5 years that digital collectible is going to be a known industry. But certainly, you know, with help of last year, you know, these artists out there like people, for example, just shoot straight to the mainstream and news coverage, which really, I think, just slingshot the industry for everyone. And the most important is there's just so many new talent people during this process, or during the unfortunate the COVID period. They have discovered they love art, and they can do things, and they can make a career out of it. You know, it's just so good to see that.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and just the amount of talented creators that are out there that are helping to elevate the platform, the amount of people that are attached to these collectibles and showing their passion. Like I feel like I have met so many passionate people. That's really the one thing I can say, is like they're passionate people. It's not like you don't call somebody a collector; you call them passionate.
Yeah. I mean, for those fans, came to the London DCon, it was amazing. I had never seen anything like it. Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of my highlight in my career, to see the amount of fans that came and supported us. Um, I, I don't even know how to describe it. You know, from all over Europe, you know, we met friends now from France, from Amsterdam, Belgium, Germany, you know, all around the entire Europe. Germany is a huge one. French is the community in France is huge. There's literally lots of pockets of fans out there, and we never thought it was going to be that big. So I'm really, really excited to look forward to the Anaheim. I really, especially, it's going to be our last show, physical show for the year. We really do want to finish it off with a big band. So for those of you, if you're living in the West Coast, if you have opportunity, you know, if it's only 30-40 minute drive, do come along. We've got some cool events going on. And a little bit, Alex will be covering in the AMA coming out next 48 hours or so, and then next month we'll talk a lot about the Anaheim, the Econ. But the focus right now is pretty much this coming week at Comic-Con. If you're coming by, please do drop by. And the AMA will be covering hopefully the drop announcement, what we have coming.
Perfect. Well, yeah, I know a lot of us are going to be here. I know I'll see you at New York Comic Con and Anaheim as well. And I know a lot of the people in the crowd I've talked to are going to be in New York Comic Con and Anaheim. So it's going to be a great crowd. Dave, thank you so much for coming up and just like hanging out for a bit with us. It's an honor.
No, looking forward to see you. New York Comic Con, amazing artist alley at the basement. So
yeah.
And you see some of the top artists. I mean, some of the artists that's on the Veve one of ones, it's very likely they will be in the convention doing real life drawings, and you could really talk to them. They're real humans. Some of these top artists out there will share some of their skills with you. I always found the New York one is very art, a lot of art. The San Diego one's very more focused on what's coming. You have the whole age where big studios are announcing what's coming, and they have the celebrity walking through auditorium. But the New York one is another different level. If you love art and you love comic, and you're right in the city as well, so it's very convenient. Well, yeah. So if you're coming over, do drop by. Please say hello. And I still see a little bit of TIE Fighter left on on our app. So if you haven't grabbed one, please do go get one. Support Star Wars. It's big. Every Vader collector out there, you need to have one before it's gone.
Yeah, I just put myself in the mind of David.
You heard it here first, folks.
When I saw a TIE Fighter...
Well, thank you very much, David. This is actually about the time I'm going to go ahead and bring the space to a close. Really, really, again, appreciate your time. Veve Magic, it was great hanging out. Trevor, my collectibles, Silicon, Tina, you guys are great. Thanks for hanging out. Everybody, you guys all have a good night.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Such an honor.